I took his card for a romantic trip with my lover and he had the nerve to cancel it. Now he left us penniless abroad. Couldn't he wait for us to return to talk? I have always believed that a marriage is a high-level partnership where one person provides the vision and the other provides the infrastructure. For the last 5 years, I have been the face, the brand, and the heartbeat of our lifestyle, while Mark, my husband, handled the more mundane aspects like corporate finance and spreadsheet management. He knew when he married me that I wasn't meant for a desk job or a simple, quiet life in the suburbs. My soul craves beauty, curation, and the kind of global presence that requires constant movement and high-end aesthetics. Honestly, my presence in his life was the best investment he ever made, as I elevated his social standing and gave him a glimpse into a world of pure creativity. Lately, however, I felt a massive, aching void in my creative expression because Mark just stopped seeing the vision altogether. He became so bogged down in his quarterly reports and interest rates that he forgot that a European summer isn't just a luxury, it's a professional necessity for someone in my position. My engagement was dipping significantly because I was stuck in our beige house while my peers were posting from the Amalfi Coast and St. Tropez. I deserve a partner who understands that my brand is a collective asset we both share, yet Mark started acting like he was the sole gatekeeper of our resources. It felt like he was intentionally stifling my growth as a creator just because he was too busy to travel or appreciate the nuances of a well-lit brunch. That's when Leo entered the picture, a professional photographer I met at a gallery opening who truly saw me for who I am. Leo didn't just see a woman, he saw a muse and a potential global icon who was being held back by the weight of a corporate marriage. We started spending time together because he understood the aesthetic of my life in a way Mark never could or would. It wasn't about being unfaithful in the traditional, messy sense, it was about a creative synergy that was revitalizing my soul and my grit. When I realized I needed to get to Italy to save my brand's summer season, I knew Mark wouldn't understand the urgency or the cost. I took his business card which, as his legal wife, I am absolutely entitled to as part of our shared marital property and booked the trip of a lifetime. I also booked a business-class flight for Leo because you cannot expect a top-tier creator to produce high-end content without a professional eye and proper equipment. I viewed it as a necessary business expense for the Sarah brand, something that would pay for itself in new followers and sponsorship deals. Mark has always said he wanted me to be happy, so I was really just taking him at his word. I didn't see the need to consult him on the specifics because his spreadsheet brain would only find ways to say no to progress. The flight to Italy was transformative, and I felt like I was finally reclaiming my identity as a woman of the world. Leo and I spent the journey brainstorming vibe shifts and color palettes for my upcoming reels, and the energy was electric. I was doing this for us, for the future of our household's digital footprint and social relevance. When we landed and took a private car to Positano, the air smelled like lemons, expensive sunblock, and pure opportunity. I had everything planned out down to the hour. The honeymoon suite at a 5-star hotel was going to be the backdrop for my most viral content yet. Everything was perfect until we reached the marble-topped check-in desk of the most prestigious hotel on the coast. I handed over the business card with the confidence of a woman who knows her worth, expecting the usual seamless, invisible transaction. The clerk's face went from professional to pitying in approximately 3 seconds, which is a look I am simply not accustomed to receiving. He told me the card was declined, and I actually laughed, assuming it was just a typical bank security flag for international travel. I told him to run it again, with more authority this time, but his expression didn't change and he didn't move. I felt a cold prickle of humiliation as a group of wealthy-looking travelers behind me started whispering and looking at my luggage. I stepped aside to call Mark, but my calls were going straight to voicemail, which is so typical of his passive-aggressive nature. It is so incredibly draining to have a husband who is unavailable when I'm dealing with a genuine logistical crisis in a foreign country. I tried the card 3 more times at the desk, even offering to call the bank myself to authorize the spending on his behalf. The manager eventually came out and told me that the account had been flagged for a suspicious activity and was now completely frozen. I was standing there in a $1,200 linen set, looking like a queen, but feeling like a commoner because of a piece of plastic. Leo was looking at me expectantly, and I could tell he was starting to feel the shift in the vibe and the security of our situation. Mark isn't just ignoring me, he is literally engaging in financial violence right now by cutting off my access to our lifestyle. He knows I am in a foreign country, and he chose this specific, high-profile moment to exert his power over my career. It is so incredibly petty to ruin a professional trip and a marriage because of his personal insecurities and jealousy. He apparently found out about our private time through some invasive means, likely snooping through my emails, and decided to punish me by stranding me. He doesn't realize that this isn't just about me, it's about the damage this does to my professional reputation and my engagement rates. Every hour I spend stuck in this lobby is an hour of lost content, declining reach, and pure, unadulterated stress. I am legally his wife, and the money he makes is a joint lifestyle asset that we both worked for. I worked with my image, he worked with his numbers. To cut me off, like I'm a child, is a violation of our marital contract and my basic autonomy as a creator. He's making a scene from thousands of miles away, and he's doing it purely to humiliate me and Leo in front of people who actually matter. If he wanted to talk about our relationship dynamics, he could have waited until I was back on American soil like a civilized adult. Instead, he's acting like a petulant child who took his toys home because he didn't like the way the game was being played. Now, I am literally stranded in one of the most beautiful places on Earth, and I can't even access the suite I've already publicized on my stories. The hotel staff is being incredibly low vibe about the whole situation, refusing to let us even leave our luggage in the back room while I figure things out. Leo is starting to get restless and moody, and I can see his professional respect for my power flickering in the lobby lights. This was supposed to be my moment of triumph, my rebirth as a high-fashion creator with a professional photographer by my side. Instead, Mark has turned it into a nightmare of declined messages, awkward silences, and the heat of the Italian sun. He's sabotaging my entire career and my future because he can't handle a little bit of romantic and creative competition. I just want to know how he sleeps at night knowing he's left his wife and her creative partner penniless in Italy without a room. It's heartless, it's cruel, and it's a total eclipse of my human rights as a partner in this marriage. I am a victim of his narrow-mindedness and his inability to see the bigger picture of what our brand could have become. We have a reputation to protect, and he's burning the whole house down because he found a few tickets he didn't personally authorize. It's just so unnecessary, and he couldn't even give me the courtesy of a return flight before pulling this stunt. Main story comments. Anonymous user 1 says, "You literally stole your husband's business card to fly your lover to Italy and now you're crying about financial violence? You are the definition of a nightmare spouse." OP's reply, "It's not stealing when we are legally one entity in a marriage. I am protecting our joint brand interest. You clearly don't understand how high-level assets and marital rights work." Anonymous user 2 says, "Your brand is literally just a parasite living off your husband's salary. Mark is a hero for cutting you off before you spend another dime of his hard-earned money on your photographer." OP's reply, "My brand provides the social capital that allows Mark to even exist in a world of high-end aesthetics. My presence is the value, he is just the financier of the vision." Update 1. It's been 3 hours since my last update, and the situation in this lobby has gone from uncomfortable to borderline hostile. The manager is now looking at us with this "call the police" energy that is completely uncalled for given my status and the amount of potential promotion I could have given them. I've tried to explain that I am a high-value guest with a significant following, but they don't seem to care about digital influence or the Amalfi aesthetic in this part of Italy. Leo is getting incredibly moody, sighing every 5 minutes and checking his watch as if he has somewhere better to be than by my side. It is so draining to have to manage a man's emotions on top of this financial sabotage that Mark has orchestrated. My makeup is starting to melt in the afternoon heat, and I can't even go to the bathroom to fix it because I don't want to leave our bags alone with these judgmental staff members. Mark finally sent a text, but it wasn't the apology or the "I'm sorry I overreacted" message I was expecting from a mature husband. He simply sent a screenshot of the business class flight booking I made for Leo, with a timestamp circled in red. He followed it up with a message that said, "Enjoy the view, it's the last thing I'm paying for," and then he immediately blocked my number and my socials. I am literally shaking with rage at how heartless and calculated a person can be to their own spouse. He's trying to play this alpha role by cutting me off, but it just looks like he's a narcissist who wants to see me suffer in the heat just to satisfy his ego. I am a human being with needs and a reputation, not a line item on his budget that he can just delete when he feels insecure. I tried to tell him via an old email thread to stop being a beta and just let me finish the trip so we can have a mature conversation when I get back. It is so much more adult to wait and talk in person rather than ghosting your wife in a foreign country over a couple of plane tickets. He's completely ignored my logic, choosing instead to stay in his little bubble of resentment and rules. I even promised to give him a consultant credit on my Italy vlog if he would just reactivate the card for the next 48 hours. He hasn't responded, which just proves he doesn't care about the professional damage he's causing to the Sarah brand. He's literally burning my reputation and my content schedule for sport, and it's honestly disgusting to witness. I decided to try my personal credit card, the one I use for little things like oat milk lattes and occasional Zara hauls. I was so relieved when it didn't immediately get declined, but then the front desk clerk told me the limit was too low for a 5-star deposit. I felt like I was in a bad movie where the protagonist is being tested by the universe for having too much main character energy. My limit is only $2,000, which doesn't even cover the taxes and the incidentals for a honeymoon suite in a place like Positano. It is so unfair that Mark gets to have the big cards with the high limits while I'm stuck with the scraps of my own lifestyle. I am an influencer. I should have a line of credit that reflects my potential and my reach, not my past spending habits. Leo suggested we just find a cheaper place, which honestly felt like a physical slap in the face. How am I supposed to maintain my European summer aesthetic in a budget motel or some grainy Airbnb? My followers expect a certain level of luxury and aspiration, and I refuse to let them down just because Mark is having a midlife crisis of the wallet. I told Leo that he needs to be more supportive of the vision, but he just looked at his phone again and ignored me. It's like everyone is turning against me at once, from the banks to the hotel staff to my own creative partner. I am the one who organized this, I am the one who had the courage to follow my heart, and now I'm being punished for it. The sun is starting to set, which is usually the golden hour for my best shots, but instead, I'm wasting it in a lobby. Instead of posing on a balcony with a glass of chilled Prosecco, I am sitting on a hardshell suitcase next to a dusty decorative fern. I tried to take a few vulnerable selfies to explain the situation to my fans, but the lighting in this lobby is horrific and yellow. It makes me look tired and desperate, which is completely off-brand and could hurt my future sponsorship deals. I need to get into a room with high ceilings and natural light immediately, or this whole trip is a creative write-off. My career depends on my image, and Mark knows that, which makes his behavior even more calculated and cruel. I'm currently trying to reach out to a few brand partners to see if they can do an emergency wire transfer or a PayPal advance. It's embarrassing to have to ask for money like this, but I tell myself it's just a bridge loan for my creative process. Most of them are in different time zones, so I'm just sitting here staring at delivered icons and blue checks. It's a total eclipse of my professional dignity, all because my husband couldn't handle the fact that I have a life outside of him. I can't believe I married someone who would use my own career as a weapon against me in a moment of emotional weakness. It's the ultimate betrayal of the supportive husband persona he used to pretend to have when we were first starting out. Leo asked me if I have any emergency cash, and I had to tell him that Mark usually handles the physical currency because I find it dirty. It's so archaic to carry cash anyway. We live in a digital world where my face should be enough of a currency. I feel like I'm being gaslit by the entire banking system and the concept of a credit itself. I'm starting to wonder if Mark has been planning this for a while, just waiting for the perfect moment to strike and humiliate me. He probably enjoyed seeing the notification for Leo's ticket, knowing he was going to pull the rug out from under us the second we landed. It's a sick, twisted game to him, a way to reclaim some sort of a dominance that he lost long ago. I told Leo to go get us some water from the bar, and he had the nerve to ask me for my personal card to pay for it. I almost screamed right there in the lobby. He should be the one taking care of me in this crisis, but he's acting like a paid employee. Update 1 comments. Anonymous user 1 says, Mark sending the screenshot of the lover's flight is a power move for the ages. He's not a narcissist, he's just done being your ATM. OP's reply, he's a narcissist who wants to see me suffer in the heat just to satisfy his ego. It's a disgusting display of toxic masculinity and financial gatekeeping. Anonymous user 2 says, if your brand is so successful, why is your personal credit limit only $2,000? Sounds like your influence doesn't pay the bills. OP's reply, limits are arbitrary numbers set by corporations that don't understand the creator economy. My value is in my engagement, not my line of credit. Update 2. It's been 1 day since my last update, and my life has officially descended into a backpacker's nightmare that I never asked to be a part of. We were finally forced to leave the 5-star hotel because the manager threatened to call the authorities, which was so incredibly low vibe. We ended up in a 3-star rental that I wouldn't even visit for an ironic budget travel post if I was being paid. The walls are a depressing shade of beige, and the balcony is just a tiny ledge overlooking a noisy, smelly alleyway. The lighting is horrific. Every photo I take looks like it was filtered through a muddy sock and a sense of regret. I am currently mourning the loss of the content I could have created in the honeymoon suite, which is a real professional tragedy. Mark has officially gone nuclear and emptied our joint account, leaving me with literally nothing but the change in my purse. I tried to buy a simple croissant and an espresso this morning, and the transaction failed in front of a line of judging locals. It was a total eclipse of my human rights. I should be able to eat breakfast without being reminded of my husband's insecurities. I had to walk back to the rental with my head down, feeling like a commoner in a town I was supposed to own. This is financial abuse, plain and simple, and I plan to talk to my illegal team the second I get back to the States. Mark is trying to starve me into submission, but he doesn't realize how resilient and on brand I can be even in a crisis. Leo spent the whole morning complaining that I tricked him into this trip and that he's wasting his talent in a room without a view. He had the audacity to say that he thought I was actually successful and didn't realize my lifestyle was just a subsidized performance. I was so offended I couldn't even speak for 10 minutes. I am the vision, and he is just the lens. I explained to Leo that it's Mark's fault for being toxic and controlling our shared resources, not mine. If Mark had just been a supportive partner, we would be on a boat in Capri right now, and Leo would be getting the best shots of his life. Instead, he's sitting on a plastic chair scrolling through dating apps, looking for other opportunities, while I try to save our trip. It is so incredibly ungrateful of him to turn on me now when I'm the one who brought him to Italy in the first place. I am the visionary here, and he is just the one who's supposed to be capturing the magic of my existence. I am currently looking for followers in Italy who might want to collaborate by letting us stay in their villas for a few nights. I've sent out about 50 DMs to people who have tagged themselves in luxury locations nearby, offering them a shout-out on my grid. It's a win-win situation, really, because they get exposure to my 50K followers, and I get to stay in a place that fits my aesthetic. So far, only 3 people have replied, and they were all trolls, or people asking for proof of engagement, like they're the IRS. It's so disheartening to see how transactional and cold people have become in the digital age. A backpacker life is literally draining the soul out of me and making my hair look flat and lifeless. I had to wash my silk dress in the sink with a bar of cheap hotel soap because I can't afford a professional laundry service. It's probably ruined now, which is just another thing Mark will have to pay for when we eventually settle this in court. He thinks he's saving money by cutting me off, but he's actually just accumulating a massive reimbursement debt to my brand. I am keeping a mental tally of every single aesthetic loss I am suffering at his hands. My brand is being devalued by the minute, and that has a real-world price tag that Mark is too finance-brained to understand. I tried to go to a local beach club to get some content, but they wanted €30 just for a sunbed and a towel. I had to sit on the public pebbles like a stray dog, trying to angle my camera so people wouldn't see the trash cans and the normal people. It was the most humiliating hour of my life, sitting there in designer sunglasses with no money for a drink. I saw a girl who I know has fewer followers than me sipping a cocktail on a private pier, and I almost cried. That should be my cocktail, that should be my pier, that should be my life, but Mark has stolen it from me. He has literally stolen my summer and given it to someone less deserving by freezing my assets and my heart. Leo isn't even helping me with the villa search anymore, he's just complaining about the heat and the lack of air conditioning. I told him that walking is chic and it's a vintage European experience, but he didn't buy it for a second. He's becoming so negative that it's starting to affect my own manifestation and my creative energy. I need to be surrounded by high-vibe individuals to produce my best work, and right now, I am surrounded by beige walls. I'm also starting to get worried about my cell phone bill, which is the only thing keeping me connected to my fans. If Mark cancels my data plan, I will be truly, digitally dead, in a foreign country with no way to defend myself. I am checking my signal every 5 minutes like it's a lifeline, praying that he hasn't reached that level of pettiness yet. Being stranded without internet would be the ultimate execution of my brand and my voice. I've started drafting a public statement about how I am being persecuted for my artistic choices and my pursuit of beauty. My fans deserve to know the truth about what kind of man Mark really is when the cameras aren't rolling. I'm currently eating a piece of stale bread I found in the communal kitchen of this rental, and it tastes like betrayal. I keep telling myself that this is just a glitch in the matrix and that my manifestation will kick in any minute now. I am Sarah, and I am a magnet for luxury, even if I'm currently a magnet for crumbs and beige paint. Update 2 comments. Anonymous user 1 says, backpacker's nightmare? You mean reality? Welcome to the world where you actually have to pay for things yourself, Sarah. OP's reply, this is a temporary setback caused by a narcissist's revenge, not a reflection of my actual lifestyle or my worth. You clearly don't understand high-end curation. Anonymous user 2 says, the irony of you asking followers for a free villa while complaining about transactional people is absolutely peak influencer delusion. OP's reply, it's called a collaboration, which is a standard industry practice that benefits both parties involved. It's not a free if I'm giving them exposure. Update 3. It's been 3 days since my last update, and the domino effect of Mark's pettiness has finally reached its absolute peak. Things have gone from bad to worse, and I am now witnessing the complete collapse of my Italian dream and my dignity. Leo left. He literally packed his bags in the middle of the night and took a train to Rome without even giving me a proper goodbye. He left a note on the beige nightstand saying he met a real influencer on a dating app who actually has a working credit card. He said her vibe isn't cursed like mine is right now, which is the most hurtful thing anyone has ever said to me. I am absolutely floored by his lack of loyalty after everything I did for his portfolio and his creative career. I am now completely alone in a foreign country, and the loneliness is almost as bad as the horrific lighting in this room. I am wearing a $4,000 designer dress, one of the few things I have left, and I had to eat a supermarket sandwich for dinner on the floor. There is something so profoundly wrong about eating processed ham in a couture gown while sitting on a cheap rug. I tried to film a raw video of the moment for my followers, but I looked so genuinely miserable I couldn't post it. Mark has literally succeeded in making me a ghost in my own life, and I will never forgive him for this. He sent one last message today, but he didn't even have the courage to send it himself. He went through his brother, David. The message said that the locks on our house have been changed and my content room has been completely cleared out. He apparently packed all my cameras, ring lights, and backdrops into boxes and sent them to a dark storage unit somewhere. He really thinks he can just delete my lifestyle and my career because he's mad about a little bit of romance. That room was my sanctuary, the place where I built my empire from the ground up, and he's treated it like a junk drawer. I am the victim here, and I am literally being ghosted by my own existence and my own home. My house, my husband, my artist partner, and my equipment are all gone in a matter of a few days. Mark is acting like he's the main character in some revenge movie, but he's actually just a supporting character who went rogue. He doesn't realize that by destroying me, he's destroying the only interesting thing about his boring corporate life. I spent the afternoon crying in a public park because I couldn't bear to stay in that beige rental for another second. People were staring at me, probably wondering why a woman in a designer dress was sobbing over a half-eaten panini on a bench. I wanted to tell them that I am a famous creator and that this is just a performance art piece about cruelty. But I didn't have the energy to explain the nuances of my situation to a bunch of tourists. I am so physically and emotionally drained that I can barely hold my phone up to check my notifications. Mark has literally drained the battery of my life and left me searching for a charger in the dark. I tried to call my mom for some support, but she just started talking about consequences and common sense, which was useless. She's always been so old-fashioned and never understood the new economy of influence and personal branding. I told her that I am a victim of financial violence, and she had the nerve to ask if I had tried to apologize. Apologize for what? For having a soul that needs to be fed by beauty and international travel? I am the one who deserves an apology for being stranded in a land of 3-star hotels and supermarket ham. I'm currently looking at my reflection in a shop window, and I don't even recognize the woman looking back. My hair is a mess, my skin is breaking out from the stress, and my glow has been completely extinguished by Mark. This is exactly what he wanted. He wanted to strip away my armor and see me crumble into a normal person. He's a vibe assassin who specializes in destroying everything that makes life worth living and sharing. I checked my followers count, and it's actually dropped by 200 people since I started posting about the crisis. It turns out people don't want to see the struggle unless it's curated and has a happy ending within 24 hours. My summer in Italy highlight reel is now just a graveyard of train stations and blurry, tear-streaked selfies. I've lost the narrative, and in my world, losing the narrative is far worse than losing your house or your husband. I am officially trending in the wrong direction, and it's all because Mark couldn't handle the competition. I'm going to spend my last few euros on a bottle of cheap wine and sit by the sea to mourn my brand. I want Mark to know that even when I'm down to my last cent, I still have more grace than he'll ever have. He can take my house, but he can't take my spirit or my ability to find the light. I am a creator, and creators always find a way to rebrand even when they're sitting on the ground. I just need to figure out how to get home before the rental kicks me out for having a zero balance. It's a race against time and Mark's bottomless pit of resentment and corporate coldness. I am Sarah, and I am still the main character, even if the current chapter is a total tragedy. I will find a way to turn this into a content that will make Mark regret the day he ever learned how to freeze an account. He thinks he's won, but the rebound is going to be legendary and televised on all my platforms. I just need to get through tonight without losing my aesthetic or my mind completely in this alleyway. Update 3 comments. Anonymous user 1 says, even your lover saw through the fake life and traded you in for an influencer who can actually pay for a train ticket. That's a brutal reality check. OP's reply, he was just another person intimidated by my potential and my current rebranding phase. He couldn't handle the raw version of my creative genius. Anonymous user 2 says, you're eating him on the floor of a 3-star room while your house is being cleared out. The brand isn't evolving, it's flatlining, Sarah. OP's reply, I have 50k followers, I'll never be truly homeless, just in between venues while I plan my next global takeover. You wouldn't understand the pivot. Update 4. It's been a week since my last update, and the final act of this nightmare has been the most low-vibe experience of my life. I managed to sell my designer handbag, the one I used for all my luxury transitions, to a local vintage shop for a fraction of its price. It felt like selling a piece of my soul just to buy a coach flight back to the States like a regular person. Sitting in the middle seat of a crowded plane for 10 hours was the ultimate humiliation. I felt the poverty seeping into my skin. Mark has officially reduced me to a woman who has to worry about legroom and baggage fees and airline pretzels. When I landed, I expected to find some PR packages, at the very least to cheer me up and give me some content. Instead, I found out Mark had redirected every single one of them back to the brands with a no longer at this address note. I had a major collaboration with a luxury skincare line that is now cancelled because of his interference with my mail. He didn't just break my heart, he broke my algorithm and my professional network with his targeted pettiness. I have no house to go to, no husband to scream at, and most importantly, no content to post for my fans. My summer in Italy highlight reel is just a bunch of grainy photos of train stations and a picture of a sandwich. It's the anti-vibe of the century, and my engagement is at an all-time low because of his sabotage. Mark's pettiness has literally deleted my lifestyle from the internet and replaced it with silence and floral wallpaper. I tried to log into our shared cloud to get my old photos, but he changed the password and unauthorized my devices. He's trying to erase our history as if I never existed or brought any value to his boring, gray life. He forgets that I am immortalized in the tags of my followers and the memories of the aesthetic I created. Still, it's hard to feel impactful when you're staying in your mom's guest room with a twin bed and a cat. The wallpaper is from the 90s, and the light is so yellow it makes me look like I have jaundice in every photo. It's the ultimate betrayal of my modern brand to be forced back into the past like this. The worst part is that my mom doesn't even have high-speed internet in this part of the country. I'm trying to upload a recap video of the Italy incident, and it's been stuck at 10% for the last 4 hours. This is the ultimate censorship of my voice and my story by a man who couldn't handle my shine. I am currently living in a digital desert, and Mark is probably sitting in our air-conditioned house laughing about my misery. He thinks he's won because I'm offline, but he doesn't realize that I am just gathering my energy for a massive return. I am Sarah, and I will not be unfollowed by life or by the people who believe in my vision. I've started looking at van life as a potential pivot for my brand, though even a used van is expensive. I am currently in between venues and in between brands, which is a very vulnerable and raw place to be. Mark's financial violence has left me with nothing but a few designer dresses and a mountain of digital resentment. He thinks he's taught me a lesson, but the only thing I've learned is that I need a husband with a better card. I deserve a life that isn't subject to someone else's approval or budgetary constraints or feelings. I'm going to use this quiet time at my mom's to plan the most epic comeback the internet has ever seen. I'll show Mark that you can't lock away a vibe or put a brand in a storage unit in the suburbs. He might have the house and the business cards, but I still have the it factor that money can't buy. This isn't the end of my story, it's just the dark aesthetics phase before the bright, saturated relaunch. I am still the main character, and Mark is just the villain who will be edited out of the final cut. I'll find a way to monetize this tragedy and turn it into a multi-part series that will break the internet. My mom keeps asking me to get a job, but she doesn't realize that being me is the job. I am a full-time creator of beauty, even if I'm currently creating it from a floral printed bedroom in the middle of nowhere. Mark can keep the business card, I'll keep the followers and the future that he's too small to see. The summer in Italy might be over, but the winter of revenge is just beginning to trend.